So if these tech-backed companies are making so much of revenue, plus they don't have any brick and mortar overheads, then why aren't they making profit?
The overall cost of acquisition of this particular one user in US market is about 1 lakh rupees. And this is against the ticket size. The revenue that you are making from the consumer is 70 to 80,000 rupees. Now with this math, any edtech with 10 teachers and 4 slots a day can register 2 CR plus revenue of gross margin in a single month.
Hey everyone, this is Dushyant Panchal this side in talks with my co-founder Anmol Mittal. Welcome back to the second episode of our podcast. In the previous episode, we touched base upon a lot of speculation around the edtech industry, its future, what are the mistakes that we did as an industry that has brought down this negative stigma around the whole ecosystem, and the rectifications that these funding winter are going to attract towards the industry. Today, we'll have a detailed discussion of Indian Edtech's position in the international market, break down the biggest pain point of today's edtech founders and investors, that is CAC, which is the cost of acquisition. Break it down channel by channel and country by country. So guys, as you can see, me and Anmol, we have switched positions today because today's discussion is going to be around Indian Edtechs venturing into the international markets. And Anmol over here, he's had a long stint with one of the leading edtechs of India, where he's experienced the complete life cycle from 0 to 1, 1 to 100, right? So let's get on with it, Anmol. Let's start literally from the start. When and how did Indian Edtechs venture into the international market?
Thank you, Dushyant, for such a warm introduction. Getting to the history of the Indian Edtechs in the international market, I believe it was back in 2005 when Tutor Vista, a venture-backed edtech, started selling in international market, the US market, at $100 a month subscription. And believe me, in 2005, it's a big number because people today are not able to achieve this. And given this success story, Pearson from UK acquired Tutor Vista in 2011. But although for a not known reason, they started to try to move towards sustainability and pull the plug on the growth. But it was little too sooner in the whole picture, and that plummeted the growth of the Tutor Vista. And in the end, I think Byju's in 2017 acquired Tutor Vista to revive the business growth.
So Anmol, in the year between 2013 to 2019, why didn't we come across a lot of news around edtech funding when so many local franchisees were flourishing, like Panchal, Resonance, Mahesh Tutorials, and these centers had these franchisees had so many centers across major cities of India.
Well, Dushyant, if you see, funding is a valuation-driven game, and higher valuations are given to the companies who can grow exponentially at a lightning speed. And therefore, these tech-based companies get higher valuations. And on the other side, if you see these franchisees like Mahesh Tutorials, who is very famous and popular in the Mumbai region area, they have been around here for a decade, and now they have reached to a 150 CR annual revenue. Whereas if you see Whitehead Junior, for example, which is a tech-based company, in less than 2 years, they had reached 100 CR a month revenue. Imagine the gap we are talking about. These offline franchisees or businesses are not able to cater to their students sitting in US, UK or any international market, and that limits their growth potential.
So if these tech-backed companies are making so much of revenue, plus they don't have any brick and mortar overheads, then why aren't they making profits?
See, these offline providers are working to make profits, right? And therefore their growth journey is sustainable and gradual. Whereas the tech-based companies are trying to squeeze in a 10-year-long, a decade-long growth journey in less than a year to meet the growth projections and raise the next round of funding. And to make all these efforts to acquire users at scale and fast, it takes enormous amount of funds to be put into marketing. And that increases the cost of acquisition, which is the huge and the highest bleeding point for all the companies in edtech over today.
So Anmol, let me quickly break it down for our users who don't know how is CAC calculated in the edtech industry. Let's take an example of the K-12 industry, where the model works like a user first books a free trial class, then he attends the free trial class, then it is taken by the sales team. This is what the sales funnel looks like. Now let's assume that a company has to spend 100 rupees behind every user who has booked a demo class. Okay, let's take an example where 10 users have booked a demo class. So a company is spending 1000 rupees on 10 users who have booked a demo class. Out of these 10 users, 40% of them attend the demo class. So in all, 4 people have actually attended the demo class. The cost of the per user who has attended the demo class is 250 rupees. Okay, now let's assume that out of these 4 people who have attended the demo class, one person actually enrolls. That is 25% of enrollment. Okay, so now this one person who is enrolled, he has to absorb the whole cost of 1000 rupees, right? So the CAC in this scenario is 1000 rupees, and this is the cost of acquisition of marketing channel. So Anmol, can you give us some insights that what are the channels used by the edtechs in the international business, and what is the CAC of all of these channels?
Right, so Dushyant, not going into much details, I can cover the channels which in majority covers the entire edtech business. The lowest hanging fruit here to jumpstart a business would be the performance marketing. Basically, that means showing digital ads to potential users who can book a free trial on your platform, correct? And for an example, in the US market, booking a free trial session for one single user costs a company about 10,000 rupees. And considering 40% attendance and 25% conversion out of those attended people, the overall cost of acquisition of this particular one user in US market is about 1 lakh rupees. And this is against the ticket size. The revenue that you are making from the consumer is 70 to 80,000 rupees. And that is why this is the channel which makes the edtechs bleeds the most, but there is no choice because this is what maintains their top line. Like the second most prominent channel here would be the referrals. And I think by the name it explains itself. And this avenue of lead gen has really helped edtechs decrease their blended CAC overall because the referral bonus has always been lesser than the CAC of the other channels, of course, right? And this sounds really nice. But talk about messing up the overall game here is that even though the bonus has always been lesser than the CAC, but at an individual level, it's really still big. Imagine if you are having a referral bonus of $300 to $500 for every successful referral enrollment. If I just refer 4 to 5 users per month, this covers my entire rent. Imagine how insane this is.
So Anmol, if you think this is insane, let me tell you that one of the leading edtechs of India was giving an Apple MacBook for 5 referral enrollments via you, and that is just in India. For US, they had a referral program of, I think, a Tesla car. If certain number of kids enroll via you, then you get a Tesla car.
Wow, man, like literally there is no limit to these innovative practices. Now, Dushyant, coming down to the third biggest avenues of the lead gen here is called DSA. It means direct selling affiliates, and this is the channel which provides international leads at a much lower cost than any other channel to these edtechs. And most of these companies have started to double down on this channel because no other avenue will give them this CAC to LTV ratio, which can go as low as 15 to 20% of our DSAs. And 90% of the edtechs have now been resorting to this particular channel because spends in their performance marketing have gone out of the bounds of their limits. And other than these 3 bigger channels which cover majority of the entire edtech business stream, there are many other small channels like B2B partnerships, micro influencers, competitions, etc., which helps them generate leads in a very smaller amount, but which can't be scaled enough.
That was super insightful, Anmol, and I'm sure this is going to be very helpful for all the new founders who are planning to go international and start a new game over there. Which brings me to my next question, that why are we seeing this trend that a lot of Indian edtechs have stopped catering to the Indian markets and are only catering to the international market?
You know, logically speaking, any business owner would resort to this channel because there is no other way they can make better profits, right? There is a simple math around here. We can run some numbers if you like so. Imagine one single class in India, it costs parents about 500 rupees. You remove GST of 100 rupees, 200 an average teacher fees for that particular 1 hour, you're left with 200 rupees of gross margin. On the other hand, at an international level, it costs parents about $15 on an average for a single 1 hour class. If you remove 500 rupees of teacher fees out of this roughly 1200 rupees of single class, you are left with 700 rupees of gross margin. And now imagine if you are able to squeeze in 2 students in that single 1 hour, it's a gold mine where you are saving 700 plus 1200 rupees, overall 1900 rupees per slot for almost international classes. Now with this math, any edtech with 10 teachers and 4 slots a day can register 2 CR plus revenue of gross margin in a single month.
So of course, I mean, then it's a no-brainer that international is the way forward. But what, according to you, are the roadblocks or challenges in this endeavor?
I mean, one very fundamental challenge I feel in going international is the market penetration. Because one very critical insight which we never account for when we plan for international market is that the products and the offerings that we have is very much appealing to an NRI, basically an Indian living outside India. But native market hasn't been so good. Natives are not very receptive to the products that we have, our sales processes, our consumer journeys, our Indian teachers with Indian accents. I mean, that sounds funny, but yes, it is the truth. Right? I personally have sold in 10 plus countries myself these courses in US, UK, Middle East, Singapore, ANZ market. And everywhere, it is the NRI audience that we cater to. But I mean, I'm not complaining here. Yes, as an industry, we are trying to crack the native market, but we haven't heard any success story as far as we know.
Great, Anmol. That was some heavy session that we had today. Concluding our discussion, so because of the promising unit economics, international is the way forward. It's a no-brainer. However, the scalability is something which can be achieved only if we are able to crack the native market. So guys, after doing a lot of in-depth research into the edtech industry and fortunately having got this immense exposure, me and Anmol in our current venture have come up with some path-breaking channels that is going to help edtechs defeat the CAC problem and conquer the global market and be the Alexanders of the international business. We'll have some glimpse of this in our next episode of podcast. So stay tuned and thank you.